Buongiorno, Auke. Good morning, everyone. I'm just waiting for other people to join, and then I will start. The problem in these live streams is always that then they stay on your channel, right? They stay on your channel and one can rewatch them, and the first minutes are always empty because you have to wait that people join in. So yeah, I'm sorry for that. If you are rewatching this live stream, please just keep like 5 minutes maybe. Hi, Adrian. Good morning. Good morning, Frank. I'm good, thank you. How are you? How is the weather where you are? Today in New York City, it's a gloomy, windy, rainy day, which I love because yesterday it was the exact opposite. It was a glorious, sunny spring day, although it was a bit cold, but in Chicago it's sunny, 55 I think it's a little bit less than 20. Ciao, Domenico D'Alecco, someone from Apulia. Hi, Domenico. Hi there in France, sunny in Belgium. It's nice to know. I don't know actually what you prefer at the moment, weather-wise. I'm sorry if I'm talking about the weather. I'm genuinely interested in the weather topic. It's not like I talk about the weather because I don't know what to talk about, which is also true in this moment actually. But Domenico, scusa, Lecco. Okay, I'm sorry. Domenico is from the north of Italy. He's not. I confused two cities. I misread the name. So, what do you wish for the weather these days? I'm curious about that because now we always wish for sunny days, right? But I don't know. It's so hard to stay inside at the beginning of the spring when there is a sunny, warm day. That now when I wake up in the morning and I see that it's gray and gloomy outside, I'm actually happy. Yeah, because it's easier to stay in and, you know, it's cozier inside the apartment. So I don't know. I'm glad that today it's so gloomy in New York City. Take 7, hi. Take 7, I only see you in my live streams. You are a big presence in my live streams, but I don't know who you are. Actually, my birthday has yet to come. My birthday is in exactly 11 days. Ciao, Loris. Loris, obviously Italian from Utrecht, which is in the Netherlands. Okay, let me read some of your comments. In Buenos Aires, Adrian, Buenos Aires is around 18 degrees Celsius. In Malta, Christopher from Malta, hi. It's 20 degrees and sunny. Kind of chill in the southern part of Brazil, Wallison. Good morning from Australia, Mountain Goat. Okay, it's been 5 minutes. I'm gonna start. Hello from Turkey. Martin asked me if I have a kitchen yet. Yeah, I kind of have. So I update you about my kitchen 1 second and then I'll start with my live stream because I prepared something for today, some suggestions. So right now I kind of have a kitchen. I still don't have the stove, which is the thing that I miss, but I have a microwave. I have a small electric oven, like a toaster oven. Someone of you told me that it's called. And then I have, so recently I bought an Erdplatte, like Germans call it. It's like an electrical disc plate that you plug in and it heats up, and you can put the pot on top of it. I don't know how it's called. I have that thing. So I tried to cook some rice. I cooked some eggs. It's working. I'm very excited because now I can cook pasta. I miss pasta so much. But I still have to try. I bought pasta the other day though from the grocery store. So hot plate. Okay. Thanks for the suggestion. Okay, someone says that it's very hot in the north of Italy, in Brescia, exactly, for being April, which I'm sorry about because it must be more difficult to stay quarantined. I've never been in Montenegro and I'm very sorry about that. I would like to visit as soon as possible. I love the Balkans. Anyway, guys, for today, so in my last live stream, which was about 1 week ago, I received many comments from you, but I actually didn't like it that much because I was too focused on the chat, which is, I think for someone who is on the other side of the camera is not that cool because it's kind of boring. So for this live stream, I decided to try to instead prepare something to tell you. So the first part of this live stream is gonna be some suggestions that I chose. I selected some records, some movies and a TV series to suggest you. And then in the second part, we are gonna do more like a Q&A style of video, okay? So the way I chose all the suggestions that I'm going to give you is simply I started from the records that I am listening at the moment. I used to be a huge music passionate, a huge one. All my friends know me because of that. But for some reason, a few years ago, I stopped listening to music. I don't know what happened. I don't know. So I don't really, last time you were asking me music suggestions or what music I listen to, and I don't really have fresh suggestions for you guys, although I have a big knowledge in terms of music, but from the past, so I'm not updated with other stuff. But right now I'm staying with my boyfriend here in New York City, and he's very passionate about music. He especially has a lot of vinyls, so he's the one who puts some music sometimes, who plays some music, and I thought today to start with two of the records that are my favorite among the ones that he's playing right now at home, okay? And then all the other suggestions are just brainstormed, and I don't know if there is a connection. I don't know, you will see. Anyway, let's start. I will start with this record, American pop music from the 60s, end of 50s. This is a collection of works from the Neville Brothers from Louisiana. It's called A History of the Neville Brothers. It's actually 4 vinyls, 4 records in here. And I've tried to see on YouTube if I could find, the full album or something, but I didn't find it. Anyway, I chose this record because it's so thoughtless. It's one of those, in the 60s, the kind of music that used to play was 50s and 60s was very, relaxed and with very light themes, because after the war, people didn't want to think about depressing things, like it's been later. For example, in the 90s, the music was pretty depressing. But yeah, this record, if you listen to it, it just gives you a good mood. So this is why I chose it. And especially, there is one song that I'm completely obsessed with since 1 week or so. And I always ask my boyfriend to put it on when he comes home from work. And it's called Tell It Like It Is. It's written by Aaron Neville, one of the brothers. I suggest you to check it out if you want to listen to something nice, thoughtless. I love it. I always have this song in my mind in this time, so yeah, why not? Tell It Like It Is, I've seen that it was a song published in the album Tell It Like It Is in the 1966. And then, second record I want to suggest you is from 1958, I think, because it's not clear on the record. So we go a little bit back in time. It's still a record from the United States. It's this is a very cheesy record, but again, it's the same thing. I'm Not a Little Boy. Yes, exactly. That's the song from Aaron Neville. Anyways, Flamingo Brothers. This is a very cheesy record, and is the same thing I was telling you earlier. Now I feel like people need to listen to very relaxing things with light topics in the lyrics. And these are all love songs and stuff like that. Really super cheesy, but I think they really put you in a good mood. They're very entertaining. They let you think about other things and stuff like that. So The Flamingos, Flamingo Serenade is the name of the record, I guess. And especially, there is one song, again, that I'm obsessed with. I must say, I like side B more than side A in this record. Side A is a bit boring, I think. But the first track of side B, it's called I Only Have Eyes for You. Cheesy title, yes. And it is actually, I didn't know this. I discovered it the first time that my boyfriend played this record here at home. I discovered that there is a very famous sample taken from this song by the Fugees. I don't know how many of you, probably everyone knows the Fugees, come on. It's one of the best hip-hop bands of all times. No, I'm laughing because I don't know anything about hip-hop. I don't listen to hip-hop, I'm not a big fan. But there are a few bands that I've listened to, one of which is the Fugees, a band from the 90s. They made especially their most famous album. I think they made only one or two albums, but their most famous album is called The Score. And one of the songs, I don't remember which one, but it's all based on a sample from an old song that I never knew which one it was. And it is this one. So when I listened to this song the first time, I was like, oh my God, this is the Fugees. So this was crazy. Anyway, the song is very funny. I like it. Oh, and they are from Chicago, by the way, in case you were wondering, the Flamingos. Okay, next record. Hello, Tom. Next record, I'm gonna go to Italy. There is no real connection between these records, by the way. One day I sat down with my notes and I just wrote down all the things that came to my mind. So next one is gonna be a song, a specific song. It's not an entire album. It's Italian. It was written in the 1963, so we're gonna stay in that historical moment in the 60s. And it's one of the classic Italian songs of all times. And it was written by a very, very famous Italian, Mina will come later. It was written from a very, very famous Italian songwriter and singer whose name is Gino Paoli. And the name of the song is Sapore di Mare, which means flavor of sea, literally translated. Sounds weird when it's translated, honestly. So this song, the lyrics just describe a typical day on holiday at the beach. It's written from the point of view of a man, of course. So he's just laying down on the beach, sunbathing, while his girlfriend or his woman dives into the water, into the sea, and then she comes back and lays down next to him. And then the whole song describes this slow life, day by day, very relaxing during the holiday on the seaside until the holiday ends. And I was looking for some infos about this song on Wikipedia, and I found this thing that Gino Paoli, the author of the song, says in an interview at the time about this song, and he says that it was a flash, like a flashback or something like that. I don't know how to translate this into English. It was a distanciation from the reality. I don't know if distanciation is a word. Like a holiday should be, which means a temporary going away from the usual habits that we have. And I think that although obviously we are not on holiday, we are in quarantine, these kind of sensations are quite similar to what we could be experiencing right now, because we are experiencing a total alienation, distanciation from the usual habits that we have, at least the ones that we have outside of our homes. And it's like this temporary moment where everything is twisted, everything is upside down, just like a holiday or just like a trip. So I don't know, this is just some thoughts that I had. I was thinking, because so many of you, especially during the last live stream, asked me to teach you something in Italian, some words, some sentences. I was thinking that I could actually teach you a few lines of the text of this song, because it's a very nice song actually. But let me take something to write. I've seen some YouTubers that write down on the screen, but I cannot do that. So let me I have a Sharpie. Let me see if I can get there with the microphone. Okay, don't laugh at me. After the move into this apartment, I kept some IKEA cartons, pieces of carton, and now they're gonna be useful to write down. So let's see if I'm able to do this. I wish I had like a blackboard or something. This is a D. This is so difficult, guys. So, can you read this? I hope so. Sapore di mare. It means flavor of sea. Mare is the sea. This is such a summary song. So this is the title of the song and also the first line. Okay, this is the first line. Then it repeats sapore di sale. So it's the same thing. Flavor of salt this time, which is from the sea, right? Barat, yes, che hai sulla pelle. I'm gonna write it here, guys. Okay, so this means che is like a pronoun which, referring to the flavor you have on the skin. And then it continues, last line. Che hai sulle labbra. Labbra means lips. So, sapore di mare, flavor of the sea, sapore di sale, flavor of salt, che hai sulla pelle, which you have on the skin, che hai sulle labbra, which you have on your lips. So this is just a description of the man when his woman comes back from her swim in the sea. She comes back to the beach next to his man, she lays down next to him, and then obviously he's kissing her or something, and he's describing these flavors that he feels. I think it's a very nice, simple song. It's a very descriptive song. Like, I hope you will go and listen to it, and maybe look at the lyrics and try to translate them with Google Translator. Tom, thank you for the super chat. Thank you for the $10. And yeah, it's very nice. And I thought, well, it is a spring. It's not summer. But, sorry, my mom just texted me. She says, why is your live stream not working? But it is working, right? I'm not talking alone, right? Anyway, this is a very summery song. You know, it's just a description of a day at the beach. It's so nice. Many people start to go to the beach, even in the north of Italy, in April. And this year they cannot. Okay, wait, guys. Fuko says refresh page. What does that mean? Is the live stream working? Live stream is working. Okay. Okay, I hope. All right. Thanks, Mountain Goat. Everything is working fine then. I'm glad to hear. So, this is a nice song, but the main reason why I want you to listen to this song is for the music itself. Because not many people know, not even Italians know, that this song, the arrangement, was made by the one and only Ennio Morricone. And I don't know how many of you know Ennio Morricone, the composer. I'm curious to know, because he's very famous on an international level, but I'm Italian and he's Italian, so of course I know him. So Western music, yeah, that's a hint about Ennio Morricone. Tell me how many of you know Ennio Morricone. Spaghetti westerns, yes, exactly. That's what he became famous for. So just very briefly, Ennio Morricone is a composer from Rome. He's Italian. he started his career. He was a trumpetist, by the way. And in the middle of this song of Gino Paoli, you can hear there is an entire section with just a trumpet singing, which is a very famous piece of music. So he was from Rome. He started just working with this music production company in Italy in the 60s. So he actually arranged some very famous songs like this one, even if not many people know about it. And then he started working for movies, because he's very famous for soundtrack of movies. And he started with spaghetti western movies. Of course, his probably most famous piece of music is from the movie, from Sergio Leone movie Il buono, il brutto, il cattivo, which is in English, The Good, the Bad and the Ugly. I think that might be the translation. And then he got more famous in the Hollywood scene, and he made musics for, I don't know, hundreds of movies probably. He's such a huge composer. Now I think he's 92 or something like that. He's still alive. He recently won like those like Academy Awards that you give just to the career of a person, not to a specific work. The arrangement of Sapore di Sale, this song, was made by Ennio Morricone. You can really tell that it's a quality piece of music. And another song that was arranged, another very famous classic Italian song that was arranged by Ennio Morricone as well, is sang by another super famous singer, probably the most famous Italian singer of all times, which is Mina. And the song is called Se telefonando, which is actually kind of difficult to translate in English. It means if I was calling you on the phone, something like that. And it was a song released in 1966. I wrote down some notes because I wasn't very knowledgeable about this song. It was like the lyrics were written by Guigo de Chiara and Maurizio Costanzo. Maurizio Costanzo is another very famous Italian personality of the past decades because he is a journalist and he used to have his own Maurizio Costanzo show on television, so everybody knows him. And not many people knew that he wrote the song, although I knew that he wrote this one, actually. Mina is just the singer. She has an incredible voice for a pop singer. You should check out some of her songs. So there is, I read this on Wikipedia looking for information. There is an introduction, a music introduction to the song made by trumpets, which Morricone says it was inspired by the sirens in Marseille, in France. I don't know why, it's just a curiosity. And this intro with the trumpets actually became a recurring theme during the whole song. I don't know if I should tell you the lyrics of this song. Maybe just the riff, the central part. But it's, I'm not gonna write it down in Italian because this is actually a very grammarly difficult to understand song. So I'm just gonna give you a quick translation. So it says, se telefonando io potessi dirti addio, ti chiamerei. Se io rivedendoti fossi certa che non soffri, ti rivedrei. Se guardandoti negli occhi sapessi dirti basta, ti guarderei. My attempt to an English translation, but it won't be as meaningful, I'm telling you, because there is some grammatical things here that are not possible to to translate. So, if I could tell you goodbye by phone, I would call you. If I could see you again and be sure that you wouldn't suffer, I would come meet you. If I could look in your eyes and be able to tell you enough, stop, I would look at you. So this is obviously a love song. It's the narration of the end of love that's been very intense but very short, something like that. Anyway, again, Ennio Morricone composed the music for this song, arranged the music, so it's really worth checking out. Also because it's one of the classics that everybody knows in Italy, one of those classic songs from the 60s. And that's it. Let's go on now. That's enough for the music. Let's go on to movies. Movie suggestions. I have 3 suggestions for you. Again, random associations. So I was thinking about Ennio Morricone, what kind of movies he composed the soundtrack for. And one of these is another famous Italian movie is called Nuovo Cinema Paradiso. It's a comedy drama movie by Giuseppe Tornatore, which is a big Italian movie director. It was made in 1988, I believe, and it even won the Academy Award for Best Foreigner Movie in the 1990. And basically, the plot is a man, middle-aged man. I hope I remember the movie right now because I've watched it years ago. It's a man in Rome, middle-aged, who starts to remember his past life. So his childhood memory. The whole movie is a huge flashback of the childhood of this man who grew up in a small village in Sicily. So you can understand that already the setting of the movie is amazing. And nothing, it's the whole narration of his childhood and teenage and how he lived back in Sicily before moving to Rome, to the big city. This movie tells a great story. So if one day you want to watch one of those movies that are really emotionally involving and I don't know, you want to watch a good story of a man, I don't know, something like that, in a beautiful setting, because it's set in Sicily, guys, then this movie is good for you. I've read somewhere that on Wikipedia, I read that for the international version of the movie, they cut off some scenes with sexual content. Just a warning for you, there might be some confusion in the plot, maybe. I don't know, because if they cut scenes, I don't know. So that might be the reason, just because the international version is like that. About this movie, I repeat the name, it's called Nuovo Cinema Paradiso. I must warn you about something. You are gonna cry. I watched it several years ago, so I don't remember it clearly now, but I remember that I cried like a fountain. I think it's impossible not to cry with this movie. So just keep that in mind. But it's not a desperate sadness. It's not like when you watch Bambi, for example, that at the end of the movie, you're just traumatized and you wished you never had started watching that movie. It's more like a nostalgic sadness mixed with joy, kind of crying. So it doesn't leave you with a bad feeling at the end. That's all. Okay, let's go on with the next suggestion. This is another Italian classic, and this is the very last Italian suggestion, guys. Then I will pass to other things. This is a huge Italian classic. And you cannot not have watched it. It's Roma Città Aperta. Translated as Rome Open City. It's a movie by Roberto Rossellini, the huge Roberto Rossellini, made in 1945. So just 1 year after the end of the Second World War, and it's one of the biggest masterworks of Italian neorealism in cinema. So it's a big deal. I think it's nice that I chose these two movies, Nuovo Cinema Paradiso and Roma Città Aperta, because they are both very big movies in the Italian history of cinema. But they are also important in very different ways, because Nuovo Cinema Paradiso is more, I don't know, is also famous in the international panorama because it won an Oscar, like an Academy Award. Whereas I don't think Roma Città Aperta won any Oscars, but it's actually even more important for us as a movie than Nuovo Cinema Paradiso. I think it's one of the most important Italian movies ever, because it's a war movie. I don't know if I told you yet. It's a war movie. It's a movie about anti-fascism. It's a movie about the resistance. I don't know how many of you guys who are not from Italy know about the Italian resistance. So at the end of the Second World War, our country was occupied by the German Nazis. And the Italian population was completely oppressed by them, but still there were some groups of secret warriors who were just normal citizens like I could be now, who just decided not to bend over to the Nazis, basically, not completely at least, and try to rebel against them in secret, though, because they couldn't do it openly, because otherwise they would have been killed, so there would have been no resistance at all. So they had to keep an image of being pro-Nazi, but at the same time they had to, like in the basement of their buildings and stuff like that, they were, trying to build connections with other people who had the same kind of political position. And although they were not so many, because it was a very risky position in which to be, like if they caught you, then they would have killed you. There was no middle way for that. Although there were only a few people who would actively do that, a huge part of the Italian population was secretly supporting them, so kind of helping them as much as they could in secret always. This movie, Roma Città Aperta, talks about the Italian resistance in Rome, so the Roman resistance against the Nazis. And I think it became like a collective memory for Italians, this movie, because, I don't know, it's just part of our history, and it's told by the point of view of simple citizens. It's not like a historical kind of movie. It's nothing like that. It's really like a war drama movie. Please, if you want to have an insider look into Italian history and culture, Roma Città Aperta is a movie that you must watch. That's it. And for example, internationally, when you think about Italian cinema, Italian movies, you think about probably Federico Fellini and his La Dolce Vita. It's such a famous movie, and don't get me wrong, I love La Dolce Vita. But compared to Roma Città Aperta, it's equally important for us as Italians. I don't want to talk for all Italians now. This is like, and I'm by no means a movie expert. These are just my personal perspective on these movies, that's all. Okay, that's it with Italian suggestions. Let's go to the next and last movie suggestion that I have for you. Just because I was in this kind of war movie, I thought about another war movie, which is not from Italy, And it's not set in the Second World War, but it's set in the First World War. And it's an animation movie. And of course, it's a Japanese movie. And some of you may already understood. How many of you have already understood what I'm talking about? A war movie in the First World War that is Japanese animation movie. I'm curious to see. Gregory says Kurosawa. Flexstream says Mulan. Okay, Porco Rosso, that's it. Yes. My last suggestion for a movie is Porco Rosso by Hayao Miyazaki, the huge Hayao Miyazaki, produced by his Studio Ghibli. If any of you doesn't know who Hayao Miyazaki is, I'm sorry for you. Hayao Miyazaki is probably the biggest Japanese animation movie director at the moment. And he founded this production company that is called Studio Ghibli. Ghibli, at least in Italian we pronounce it like that. I hope that's the right pronunciation, universally the right pronunciation. Hayao Miyazaki makes this kind of animation movies that just leave you, like, if you want to escape from reality, like really escape from reality for 2 hours, watch a movie of Hayao Miyazaki. It's so amazing. It's just, he makes both movies for animation movies for children and for adults, but even the ones for children, you can watch them because they are so amazing. And there is just so much fantasy in these movies, so many emotions, so many good emotions, so much goodness. And so Porco Rosso is one of his movies. He's a pretty old one. It was made in 1990, which was the year when I was born. And so I have a personal history with this movie, being Italian, because the thing is that in Italy, this movie, usually when Hayao Miyazaki makes a movie, it immediately gets translated, dubbed in the language, and then published in the movie theaters of Italy. But for some reason, with Porco Rosso, they never did this. So unless you knew Japanese, which nobody does, you couldn't really watch this movie. And so for 20 years, we were not able to watch Porco Rosso in Italian until it was finally released in Italian, and it was released in the movie theaters on the 10th of November 2010. I went to look for the exact date because I remember that evening like it was yesterday. It was my first year in university, and it was my first or second month in university actually. And I had just made a new small group of friends from my courses. And among them, there was a girl who was a huge passionate for Hayao Miyazaki movies, like huge. She had watched everything that was translated in Italian by Hayao Miyazaki, except Porco Rosso, of course. So we went in a small group of people in the evening. I was living in Padua at the time where I studied university, at movie theater Pio Decimo. And we finally were able to watch Porco Rosso after 20 years since its first release in Japan. And I remember as the movie ended, I thought, this is the best movie I've ever seen. And I used to watch quite a bit of movies until I was in my early 20s, then I stopped. But during my teenage, I watched a lot of movies. So I had my ranking, my top 5 and stuff. But with Porco Rosso became my number 1 movie. If someone asks me, what's your favorite movie ever? I say Porco Rosso. So yeah, if you want, watch it. That's it for movies. Let's go to TV series, and that is the very last suggestion that I have for you. I only have one TV series because I'm not a huge fan, but I watch some now because I'm with my boyfriend in the evening when he comes back from work. It's nice sometimes to watch a TV series, an episode instead of a movie or whatever. So I chose a series from Netflix just because I know that Netflix is this kind of private television that is more famous in Europe as well. At least in Italy, everyone has Netflix, but here in America, you also have Hulu and Amazon Prime and other stuff, but Netflix is more universal, I have the sensation. Although, actually, not in every country Netflix offers the same movies and TV series, so I'm not sure that if you will be able to find this one in your country. But it's another Japanese TV series, and I talked about it in my last live stream, I think. It's called Midnight Diner. Midnight Diner is a series made by small episodes. They are 20-25 minutes episodes, I think. And the main theme is this small diner of maybe like a dozen of seats only, somewhere in Tokyo, that opens at midnight and closes at 7 in the morning. And it's run by the master, they call it the master even in Japanese, who is this middle-aged man with a big scar on his eye. And basically in every episode narrates the story of some of the clients of the diner, basically. So it usually starts in the diner when this client comes in, for example, and then there is some dialogue with the master and other customers of the diner, and then you start knowing more about the story of this person, and that's it. And that the whole episode has this background theme that is the diner, this midnight diner, but then every episode narrates a different personal story of some people. What I like the most about this series is the kind of aesthetics. So it's a very, very Japanese aesthetics, which I don't know how to explain it. So I personally consider Japanese aesthetics as the exact opposite as American aesthetics. As much as American is all about action, is all about exaggerations, big scenes, fireworks and explosions and stuff like that. Japanese aesthetics is all about, moderation, modesty, minimalism, going deeper into the meaning of things, all these kind of things. It's a very delicate kind of aesthetics, I find. So Midnight Diner really shows you this kind of aesthetics in the capital of Japan, which is Tokyo. And it's a very nice series. Check it out if you want. Okay, those were my suggestions. Now I will take a break because I'm about to, I'm not used to talk alone for so long. I'm gonna have my vitamin C. Are you guys taking your vitamin C? I honestly discovered very recently that vitamin C is proven, scientifically proven, to prevent flu and flu symptoms. The thing is that you have to take the right amount, which is not 60 milligrams like most, integratori, supplements have. You have to take from 1 gram to 2 grams per day of vitamin C. So I got a big box of it, and me and my boyfriend are having 1 gram per day. Sometimes, like 2 days ago, he came home and he felt like he had fever, and I shit in my pants for a couple of hours because I thought he got coronavirus. But he didn't. He was only very tired because he's working 3 times like he usually does because he's running an entire restaurant alone because he left everyone home because he didn't want them to get sick or anything. And I gave him 2 or 3 of these and he felt better. It was just about sleeping, honestly, but still, I get vitamin C every day, guys. And by the way, this is not like, I thought at the beginning that it was like a scam, like you get vitamin C and you don't get flu. What is that? But then I actually made my research and I have my trusted sources. So I suggest you to check what I say with your trusted sources. But the scientific literature shows that if you get at least 1 or 2 grams per day, that is an effective remedy against flu and flu symptoms. Especially when you start to feel those flu symptoms arriving. If you take vitamin C immediately, you can fight against it. So that's it. And I got kiwis as well because kiwis have a lot of vitamin C as well, apparently. So now for breakfast I have 1 kiwi and then whatever I have for breakfast. Okay, let me see some of your comments. Guys, if you want to ask questions, this is the moment. Enzo suggests another Miyazaki movie, The Howl Castle. Yeah, but I suggest each one of Miyazaki movies, honestly. I could suggest so many. I mean, he didn't make an infinite number. He made like 10 movies, I think. Robin asked, do you think in Italian or in English? That's a very good question. It's hard to answer though. I think each one of us usually thinks in the language that he's most used speaking in. So right now I'm still, obviously, I speak so much English because not only because I'm in New York right now and with my boyfriend I speak English, but also I have my YouTube channel and that's all in English. But I still make these very long video chats with my family back in Italy, so I still talk Italian and with friends as well. So I would say right now half and half. Yeah, I would say 50-50. I think 50% Italian, 50% in English. But for example, there are some moments where I've been traveling for a long time and I haven't heard from my family that often. And I realized that I think in English more than in Italian, way more in English. I realized that because I keep journals. So the language that I write my journal in is usually the language that I'm thinking in. And right now I'm writing half sentences in Italian, half in English, so probably that's the thing. But for example, when I was living in Germany, that was in 2011, 2012, I lived for 12 months in Germany. And I went there also to learn German. I arrived with some knowledge of German. And then I would say after 3 months, I was able to really have a conversation in German. And from that moment, I realized that I started thinking in German. Like I wasn't thinking in Italian anymore because I wouldn't talk with Italians during my staying in Germany because I wanted to really dive into the German language, and that worked because I was actually thinking in German even when German was not super fluent for me, which was a very weird sensation. Mr. Jason, hi. Is your family fluent in English? Can they watch and understand? So my two siblings, yes, they can watch. They are pretty fluent. They don't. The problem with Italians often is that they don't practice English. We learn English for long years in school, so we are able to understand. But then for talking is a little bit harder. My parents is a bit more of a problem. My dad is better, but my mom knows French better than English because that's what they used to teach in schools back in the days as a foreign language. So yeah, she struggles a little bit more with English, but my mom is my number one supporter. She has been watching every single one of my videos on YouTube since the day one of my channel. Not joking. And most of the times she can understand maybe 20% of what I say. Maybe. Oh, there is Henry Chang. Hi. Thanks for the super chat. $20. Wow. Your videos, bro. Mental vitamin C. That's how Henry calls my video. Well, thank you. That's a very nice compliment. Let me see other questions. What region of Italy are you from? I think 90% of my subscribers at this point know that I'm from Friuli. Friuli is my region. It's in the very northeast of Italy, at the borders with other countries, with Slovenia and Austria. So yeah, I've covered this before because I made vlogs about my region, in my region. I was there in the period, in the fall, in this last fall. So if you go on my channel, you go see videos that I published in October, November. They are all from my home region. Kalkan asked me to make a moderator. I'm very inexperienced about live streams, sorry. I've heard from my other fellow YouTubers about these moderators, but I don't know what it means. I don't know. I still have to, Google it and get information one day. I didn't think I would get, I'm sorry because in the other 2 live streams that I did in the past 2 weeks, I was looking at the chat constantly, so I was able to, interact with you guys. But this time I wanted to experiment something different. So in the first part of the chat, of the live stream, I didn't look at the chat at all. So Kalkan, is that what you meant? Like that I wasn't interacting with the chat at all? Was that the problem? Joe Public Films said that he just logged in, and if I talked about Cinema Paradiso, his favorite fictional film, yes, it was my first movie suggestion actually of the 3. Nuovo Cinema Paradiso. Ernie Rogers suggests the original Blade Runner. I keep hearing talking about the original Blade Runner. Actually, I watched Blade Runner with Harrison Ford, and that's the only Blade Runner that I know. So I don't know if that's the original one. Ernie, zinc is great for keeping you healthy. I don't know about that. We'll have to research. Thank you for the suggestion though. Terminal Gremlin asked me to please talk about philosophy sometime. What do you mean? So he's asking me this because my education was philosophy. I studied philosophy in university, both bachelor and master. I, ooh, I'm actually releasing. I was trying to do this before I started the live stream, but then I got stuck. I'm releasing on my Patreon page a video, like a 45 minutes long video that I shot yesterday, where I talk a little bit about philosophy. So if someone of you is interested, my Patreon is very easy to join because it's only, I don't have tiers. You can donate just $1 per month and you get access to all the content that I put there. And you can cancel your subscription after 1 month, by the way. So for $1, you can have some philosophy content from me. Kotuf Alui, I'm sorry if I pronounced this wrong, wants to ask me about what books I recommend. I know that I have this background, but this is not my apartment. This is my boyfriend's apartment, who is very passionate about reading. I am really not. I read so much in my school and university career that now I get sick of even thinking about reading, so I don't read books. But I can tell you, because I still read maybe 1 book per year sometimes. I would like to read more, but honestly, my mind refuses the reading. I don't know. And I'm a person who read mountains of books in her life because that was my career. When you study philosophy in university, all you have to do is to read books. So, last book that I read was a novel, and I enjoyed it very much. It's not the best book I've ever read, but I enjoyed it. It's by an Italian author, Paolo Cognetti, I think is the name. And the name of the book is Le Otto Montagne, which means the 8 mountains. It's the book that won the most famous Italian literature prize 3 years ago, I think. And it's a novel, it's a story of a friendship from childhood to adulthood, set in Italy, of course, in the north of Italy, half in the mountains, half in the city of Milan. And it's a book about mountains, about Alps as well, about the passion for the mountains, which I have. So that's a nice book if you want to read a nice story. Johnny Crash, thank you for the super chat. Hi, how are you? Okay, let's see other questions that you have. Johnny Crash, okay, so you asked. I mentioned that I have a master's degree in philosophy. What was the subject of your graduate thesis? So I wrote 2 theses because I graduated twice, master and bachelor. For my bachelor, it was a very simple one. They don't require you to write a proper thesis. It's more like an essay. And it was about the concept of metaphysics in Martin Heidegger, which is one of the biggest philosophers of the 20th century. In my bachelor, I was very much into ontology, metaphysics, and hermeneutics. I hope that's the right translation in English, hermeneutics. So I was very much into the concept of metaphysics, what it means, what is the essence of being. It's hard to talk philosophy in English. I'm sorry. I'm better at talking about philosophy in German. That's a way easier language to talk about complex concepts. And then my master, I kind of specialized in aesthetics. So I stopped studying exclusively about, ontology and metaphysics. And I had this professor who was a master professor. So he would just make lesson for the masters. But he was a guest in my very, very first semester of the first year in my bachelor. He came to make a lesson for another professor, one of our courses. And after that 1.5 hours, I was completely shocked. Like, that was the best lesson that I've ever heard in my life. And at the end of the lesson, he said, who wants can come join me for my next lesson. I'm going now in the other building to teach to the master students. And it's gonna be about, that year his course was about the technique in Heidegger. So the concept of technique in Heidegger and what it means for the modernity, the concept of technique, techne in ancient Greek. So I went there, and then I kept following all his courses until I arrived to my master. Then I could actually give his exam as well. And then I chose, obviously, him as my thesis advisor. And I made a very... This is a hardcore topic for me, guys. I spent 1.5 years of my life entirely on my master thesis. And I had a mental breakdown in the meantime. I had panic attacks. It's been a journey, my master thesis. It should have been a PhD thesis, but I don't know. Anyway, it was about the concept of virtual and how the digital technologies have changed and are changing our world. It was a very new topic for a thesis, also for my professor. He didn't have suggestions for me, so I did all the work by myself. And I discovered that no philosopher basically has written about this topic, about digital technologies, yet. There were one French philosopher, Lévy, who wrote about it a little bit, not as his main topic of research, but he wrote a couple of books about it, maybe 20 years ago. So that was my starting point. But then I read so many books, guys. You see, that's why I cannot read books anymore. I read so many books about psychology, sociology, technology. I took, during the making of my master thesis, I took a 6-month course in Java, coding, in Java coding. I literally went to the engineering faculty and I took their basic course that the students take in their first semester. And I even made the exam because I wanted to, prove to myself that I was able to code. And that was so hard. I read so many different... I knew all the libraries of all the faculties of my university in Padua. And then in the end, I had to take all this knowledge coming from different fields and write something in philosophical terms. So my master thesis has been... it's been definitely the most difficult project I've ever done in my entire life. Yeah, that was the short answer. Did I see the movie Hair featuring Joaquin Phoenix? Yes, I watched it, of course. Yeah, very good movie. Very nice, yes. Ernie asked, how is my internet running in New York? Because in Phoenix, in Arizona, is a mess. Actually, Ernie, my parents in Italy have the same exact problem. We are having troubles video chatting because their internet connection is so messed up, because everyone is connected to the internet probably all the time. And here in New York, we have zero problems. My sister in Turin also has zero problems. Alan Gibbon, did you read Alicia Spereza? So you sent me an article. I did read it. And which one was it? Remind me. The one about cops in New York City getting sick of coronavirus? Because I have many people sending me articles now, so I'm reading quite a few of them. I do remember, Ernie, that you are a sound engineer. Ernie, someone says that you are sending me, you're writing too many messages in a chat that are all the same. Please don't do that. Okay, let me see. I'm scrolling the chat to see other questions that you have, guys. Jason asked me, favorite Italian dish to make at home? Risotto, definitely. Well, pasta, of course, but pasta is such a basic thing that I don't even think about it. It's something that we do every single day for lunch. But something a little bit more elaborate is definitely risotto. Yes, I love making risotto in all its forms, all its kinds. Himanshu, where are you from? Thank you for the super chat. I guess you are from the US since you made a donation in US dollars. I'm glad you enjoyed my first time, your first live chat from me. I haven't revealed yet why I chose What a Shame, Mary Jane. No, I haven't. Guys, I'm waiting. In order to make that video, I need some of my friends to collaborate with me in that video, and those are in Italy, and so I'm waiting for the right moment. It's not easy. David, today I started this live stream telling about the weather in New York. Today is very gloomy and rainy and gray, which is my favorite weather during this quarantine, because when it's sunny and warm and springy outside, it's so hard to stay at home. But I actually started, because as many of you know, there are no balconies in New York in the apartments. As I said in my videos like 1 year ago about American houses versus Italian houses, balconies are not a big thing here, not only in New York. And that is so crazy for me, because I grew up literally in a country where almost every apartment has a balcony. So now being quarantined without a balcony, it's kind of challenging. But a few days ago, I started going out from my window to the fire escape. And it faces southwest, so it's perfect in the afternoon. I go there and I can sunbathe, a little bit and get some fresh air without going out of the apartment. So that is great. Okay, let me read some other questions that you have. Floyd asks, what's my real name? I will reveal my real name on my Patreon page. I don't know when I will, that's a promise. Have I ever seen Life is Beautiful, the movie? In Italian, La vita è bella. Of course I've watched it. It's one of the best movies ever, come on. Roberto Benigni, especially. Roberto Benigni is, if you don't know, the movie director of Life is Beautiful and the main actor of Life is Beautiful. He's an Italian comedian, and he's a very, very well-educated person. So although he's a comedian and he says stupid shit all the time, I love him. He's great. He's so clever. And if you guys haven't watched it yet, please go see, first of all, the reaction of Roberto Benigni. I don't know if I can write it. No. Watch on YouTube the reaction of Roberto Benigni to winning an Oscar, and also when he went as a guest to the David Letterman show. Please watch it, especially the one with David Letterman. Joe Pugly Films, how about Bicycle Thieves, Ladri di Biciclette, and other awesome movies. Jessica Wu from Flushing, hi. She asked, what is or was your dream career, especially as a philosophy major? Well, as any philosophy major, any philosophy student, I think, dreams about having a career in university, doing a PhD after the master, and then getting a research contract signed until they finally become professors of the university. And that was kind of my dream too, very random, honestly. But in the last years of my university path, I understood that I didn't want to stay inside the university, inside the academic environment. I discovered that I didn't like that. I think it's a very closed-minded environment, which is very sad to say, because philosophy, especially philosophy, should be all about open-mindedness, to be about open-minded. And I don't think that people who does philosophy in university is open-minded at all. And also I wanted to go out in the real world, In Italy, you study so much. We finished school at 19, guys. We start at 6 and we finish at 19. I think in the USA, as much as in many other countries, people finish school at 17 or even 16. We finish school at freaking 19. And then we go to university. And then if you want to go to the master, the whole path, it's other 5 years. So if you're quick, you finish your studying career at 24. I'm sure that in most of the countries at 24, people already have a stable job and they are looking to get married and settle down and make kids. We are still students at 24. So why am I talking about this? I'm sorry. You asked me about my dream career. So when I finished university, I wanted to go out in the real world, to go out the close environment of school, close and protected environment of school and university. And I wanted to just risk everything I have, risk myself to go out in the world and try to make something out of my life that was not, a safe path into university. That's all. That's all. And then I was very confused the first 2 years after graduation about what I wanted to do in my life. I've always wanted to kind of teach, but I didn't want to be a teacher in school because that's so depressing. You have a curriculum that you have to follow and you have to teach some things that they tell you to teach. I'm not good at being someone who has a boss. So I thought maybe I can be one of those external educators that go into schools once in a while and do some hours of external courses. And I especially wanted to do digital education. That was my goal, because that was the natural prosecution of my master thesis. As I just told you, I wrote my master thesis about the impact of digital technologies on our world. So actually the main thesis of my thesis, the final thesis, was that we desperately need digital education. We desperately need to educate the newer generations to use the digital media properly, because they have no guidance at the moment, right? Especially because there is such a generation gap. Like, the parents of these kids don't even understand technologically what these kids are doing with these technologies, which is scary, because then these kids and teenagers, they just stay on their phone and on their computers the entire day without guidance, without knowing what is right and what is wrong, what is better and what is worse. So that's what I wanted to do, digital education. And then I started YouTube because I thought maybe I can, teach something on YouTube as well. It's just, I will have more freedom. Okay, let me see other questions that you have. Scott asked me, what's your favorite film? I just said it. You should rewatch the live stream. Alun, you asked me, have you seen the film Contagion? Look, I've seen that there are so many stupid shit that Netflix offers now to watch, like Epidemic, Pandemic, Contagion. I mean, come on, people are freaking out because of this pandemic. At least when you try to get entertained with the movie or a TV series, let's try to switch focus to something else. Come on, Contagion. No, I don't watch dramatic, like unnecessarily dramatic movies. I hate unnecessary drama. Okay, other questions? This live stream has been pretty long already. Oh, let's see. In Belgium, children are in school from the age of 6 until 18. In fact, the majority are also in kindergarten at the age of 3. Yeah, in Italy too, for the parents who can afford to take their put their kids in kindergarten, they start at 3. No, what am I saying? No, I'm sorry. From 3 to 6, I think it's considered public. No, I don't know if it's considered public, but it's very common for Italian kids to go to school from 3 to 6. But it's not real school. I mean, you don't really learn to write and stuff. We don't consider it school anyways. Ciao Libero Bergamo! Com'è Bergamo? So, I got someone saying hi from Bergamo. Bergamo is a city in Italy, in the north of Italy, who was the epicenter, not the epicenter, but was the most hit city in Italy from coronavirus. They really had a dramatic situation. So I'm asking how it is, the situation now. You know, apparently in Italy, just a very quick update, coronavirus update, apparently they reached the peak. I don't want to say bullshit right now. I just watched quickly a few articles. I think they reached the peak because now they are slowly going down with the new contagion. Bye bye, Tom. Yeah, Libero from Bergamo confirms that it seems like Italy is decreasing with the cases. Okay, guys, I think we're done with this live stream, with this Q&A. And I hope you enjoyed the suggestions. Let me know if you're going to watch something that I recommended, or if you're going to listen to something. Oh my God, some Trump fan just wrote in the chat, no, we don't want Trump in this channel. No Trump. I try to not talk about politics, but no Trump. Come on. All right. Yes, Himanshu, please try to watch Porco Rosso. See if you can find it. I have no idea where you can find all these suggestions, by the way. I have ideas, but they are not completely legal. Yeah, thank you for being here and keeping me company. I will see you. I'm preparing a video to publish on, I think I'm gonna publish this video on Saturday evening on my YouTube channel, because this Sunday is Easter. I'm Catholic, so for me Easter is like a family sacred day. So I'm going to spend the day probably video chatting all my relatives in Italy, or at least I hope so. So I'm not, I will try to publish my video instead of Sunday on Saturday. Okay? Goodbye then. Thank you for joining.